Deputy Minister of Education, Associate Professor at the University.
Insult into injury, you just have to, let them understand that it is possible, it's possible they can do it. Encouragement than to throw harsh words on the team for them to be demoralized or be discouraged. You know what I mean? So let us see how we can put our hands together, motivate them more, encourage them more that, the lost glory that the Black Stars of Ghana, is experiencing must be brought back. Right? I think that is possible. You know, these are youth who are, I don't think they don't love their country, but at times in life, they might be going through some challenges, but we need to identify what is causing those challenges and see how we can mitigate them. Okay, and we shall get at the point. For me, so Black Stars make us proud at the point.
Okay, all right. Doug, you keep shaking your head.
Yes. I disagree.
Okay.
This particular Black Stars has underperformed for too long.
Okay.
And we seem to be comfortable accepting mediocrity as the norm. We can't make real progress if we continuously accept mediocrity as the norm. There are structural problems. And the interesting thing is that the Sudan team is coached by two Ghanaians, Kwesi Appiah and his assistant.
Three.
Two Ghanaians.
Three.
Three. Well, I know of two personally, so three. So it is not for lack of technical knowledge in our football setup, but it's more structural. There are a number of those players who've never played in any Ghanaian league. There are a number of them who've never played in the either under 17s or under 21s. And we have not inculcated into them the spirit of football nationalism. A number of them are not hungry. The hunger for success, which was a driving force. Remember Black Stars 82. The hunger for success. And we seem to be comfortable just inviting names. I want to see a lot of local players playing the local leagues being involved. If you look at the Sudan team that beat us, the only person playing outside of Africa plays in Thailand. They're just largely playing in Sudan or nearby African countries. And there is a certain hunger to make a mark. We have overindulged our current Black Stars and they have underperformed. Let's give some other Ghanaian players, including those playing in the local league, who will be hungrier. Let's give them a chance.
So
we have a good coach.
So that's why I made the point by saying that all is not lost. You know what I mean? So the issues are there, they're underperforming. So what should we do? We need to encourage them to be hungrier, as you are saying. We need to encourage them to understand that Ghanaians are, banking their hopes on them. That's the point. Because it's the Black Stars. How do we do? If the current team, is not doing well, is it all the players? As you are saying, can we also, look at the local side? Do you have some strength here that we can? The bottom line is that we can rejuvenate the Black Stars to the years you were mentioning. Those times, the Abedi Palace time, those times, even at dawn, you wake up to watch them. Kwabena Yeboah would say that live from Ziguinchor, those I remember, Senegal. Okay, so but you listen to radios and they are being lambasted, they are being insulted. I'm saying that these are negative words. words of discouragement. I mean, that shouldn't be what we have to do. We need to let them know that we are expecting more from you. Your performance is not what Ghanaians want. Go the extra mile. Be very hungry. Work hard. And bring us back those lost glories. I mean, so for me, that should be the approach.
You see, Doc, I look at it from a managerial perspective. I don't like insults, not even in politics. So insulting them is not the solution. But when we have consistently underperformed, for how long do we say let's encourage them? When there is a defeat, yes, that one is understandable. Let's encourage it, bring them up, motivate them. But this has been a pattern over a period of time. And you can't be doing the same thing and expect different outcomes. So it is time we take the bull by the horns. Let's dissect the problem. How do we get a Black Stars that represents our aspirations, that delivers on our hopes? But this particular Black Star and the management of the Black Star should also be included. In any other job, if you underperform with this sort of results, you'll be kicked out. The management of the Black Stars, we seem to leave them out and it's only on the players. And that's why I said there's also a structural problem. Let's take a second look. From a management perspective, this is the way you resolve issues of persistent and consistent underperformance. There's no nicer way of putting it. The insults, no. These are individuals. But the team needs to be re-galvanized, or even this current team set aside. Let's use the under 21, under 23, under 17s. Let's groom them. Give ourselves a 2-year period. Look, this team has failed. Do we have the under 21? Are they doing better at their peer level? If they are, how do we bring them? And we've done this before. So let's have a new Black Stars relying on people who are hungry and players playing in the local league with a few professionals in quote based outside who we see have the passion.
All right.
Let me conclude on a quote from Mohamed Kudus.
Yes.
He said, in a quote, "We want to assure Ghanaians that we are committed to learning from our mistakes, regrouping, and working tirelessly to restore the Black Stars to our former glory. We value the unwavering support and loyalty you've shown us, and we are determined to make you proud once again." End of quote. I ended here. Yeah.
All right. So he was a captain over the 2 legs.
Okay.
Yes. In the 2 games, he was a captain in the absence of Thomas Partey. Okay. So he's taking responsibility and has issued the statement. All right. Okay. I'm sure that everybody, including myself, has been listening to you and all other people express your views on the issues of Black Stars. Good feedback. We'll see how it goes from there. But Doc, I was speaking about your bold prediction and your pledge and what you said you would do if it didn't happen and what you did. What happened? Why did you do that?
Well, load shedding was resolved in December 2015. But there were other issues associated with it. Even at the time the ministry announced the end of load shedding, around the 17th of December 2015, there were people from within our own ranks, especially the party, who doubted that. And there were the usual internal machinations. At that time, we were so dependent on Nigerian gas.
So just take us back, just in case there are people who don't know about this story or probably have forgotten what happened. You were power minister.
Yes.
We were shedding load. We had problems, what they call doomsday. And then you, as the head of the ministry, announced.
You see, President Mahama recognized that the existential challenge we had then with load shedding, and so created the Ministry of Power out of the then Ministry of Energy, and that was about 80% of the ministry. Indeed, when President Mahama called me that he was going to make me a minister, he was splitting the ministry and was going to make me a minister, I asked him, I hope you are taking me to petroleum.
Why?
And he said, no, that's not where the problem is. Because, first of all, I was the first chief executive of Post. I was the first chief executive of Petroleum Commission. I was, under President Mills, I was Deputy Minister, Petroleum.
Oh.
So, my love would have been to go to petroleum, but he says no. Of course, when you read energy policy, it includes power. So, and I love challenges for me. I work better under challenge. When we have a challenge, give me that. I don't operate too well in comfort. Okay. So, yes, we set up the ministry, we went all out, and by 17th of December, we're confident enough to announce the end of load shedding, which indeed we did. But we were so dependent on gas from Nigeria and gas. And payment for gas was outside my control. It's the Ministry of Finance then. And when I announced the end of, with every political party, you have machinations. There will be the naysayers and said, look, oh no, it can't be done January, February. And in the context of that situation, I had a discussion with His Excellency the President, said, look, let me go. And he graciously allowed me to resign. And we have retained a certain relationship after now, because I decided to take the bullet on behalf of the collective. And that is what I expect from political leaders. If you're given a sector to handle, you take responsibility. Even within the party, there were people who were not happy I had announced the end of load shedding. Some expected, especially those in communications and others, who expect that to be left to the president. But I totally disagree. The minister takes responsibility. So if there is a fallback, or if there is a negative feedback, the president is isolated. He can then come in to correct. If you the president announces the end of load shedding, announces a major.
From your view, did doomsday end?
Yes, load shedding ended.
When?
You see, and that 17th December, we never had a timetable again. You see, I've always made a certain distinction. Load shedding and a localized outage. A localized outage can occur when, for example, the transformer serving your area gets blown or is overloaded and therefore it shuts down. So you will not have light in that area until it's reconnected or the corrective measures are taken. That is not load shedding. Load shedding arises when there is under generation, when demand exceeds supply, and therefore you have to ration power. That is load shedding. And that is why I've consistently been very careful. As for the localized outages, they will happen until we invest enough. Because if a transformer is overloaded and it gives way or it shuts down, with technology, it is possible to immediately reroute the load to another transformer. But that requires spare transformer capacity. That requires a certain level of technical sophistication that will come about through investment. So there is that. But in terms of shedding load, in terms of outages because we don't have enough generating capacity, it didn't happen. And as I say, the sweetness of the pudding is in the eating. The new government taking over from us accused us of having excess capacity. It means we had more than adequate generational capacity. And so that was not an issue again. And that was why His Excellency the Vice President said, look, why should they pat us on our back if we do what we're expected to do? And so we should not be patted because we have resolved load shedding. So there's a recognition that load shedding ended there. But what I also caution is that demand is not static. It's a very dynamic. What is adequate this year will not be adequate next year because of the inherent 8 to 12% annual growth a year. If you do not plan for that, if you don't project for that, if you don't provide that, what was adequate yesterday will not be adequate tomorrow.
Okay. Yes.
So, thank you. Good morning to your good selves and the constituents of Kwadaso constituency, who I'm persuaded are going to vote convincingly and overwhelmingly for the incoming President, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia. Randy, Honorable Kwabena Donkor, I mean, he's a gentleman. He's one of those MPs who is so down to earth. And I see in him that sense of patriotism. He eschews extreme partisanship. I mean, I can say that he's one of those who are referred to in politics as DAFs. And I like him and his demeanor. But this resignation over Dumsor in 2015, in fact, he was emphatic that if Dumsor didn't end, he was going to resign, and that was done. However, I remember in an interview he granted, I think to Peace FM or one of the media houses, he was asked whether he resigned because of his promise that if Dumsor didn't end, he was going to quit. He said that was not the case, but internal party politics. But he didn't go further to expatiate on that. I even also respect him on that angle, that he didn't want to wash maybe some dirty linens in his party in the public. Okay, so I mean he resigned. That was cool, but the subsequent interview where he said that it was not because of doing so, but because of internal party politics. I mean, so I will leave it at that. But Dumsor, did Dumsor end in 2016? I mean, he said yes, but I have a contrary opinion to that. Of course, I remember that in 2015, during the State of the Nation address, the then President Mahama had indicated
15 or 16.
I think either 15, I think 15 or so, at State of the Nation address, Mahama had said that Dumsor had ended. And I remember Bawumia replied and said that if Dumsor had ended, you created it. Subsequently, we started experiencing that same erratic power supply. When in September or October 2016, before the elections, President Mahama at that time said that if we voted for him, he was going to make sure that Dumsor ended. I have it. I can show it to you. The publication on Ghana Web. Then what is even telling is what Ofosu Ampofo said. I think in March 2017, that if Mahama had won, Mahama would have ended Dumsor. So it beats my mind that they are saying that they were able to terminate Dumsor. Please permit me to read a portion of what, for example, said, I think 27th of March 2017, Mahama would have ended Dumsor if NDC was retained. It's here. So that's why I'm saying that Dumsor was not
headline, so we can't rely on that. You know?
Randy,
no, you know that,
my good friend. Okay, so
yeah, you know.
maybe I'll find time and give you the meat,
Right?
the meat of it. But the point I'm making is that Dumsor was not ended in 2016. I mean, he operates within that area. I respect him so much. But I have a contrary position on that, based on what John Mahama had said about 2 months into the election, that if you voted for him, he was going to end Dumsor.
Are you saying that James said this in 2016?
Yeah.
How?
Yeah. Oh, I mean, James said that in 2016 that if he wins the election, Dumsor was going to end.
Really?
Yeah. I'll find time and give it to you. Okay. So I want to put on record that with respect to my senior, Dumsor never ended in 2016.
Okay.
You see, Doc.
Yes.
At least we are intellectuals. The
Yes.
three of us.
Yes.
Incidentally, everyone has a PhD. It is important that you don't take headlines, especially headlines from sources opposed to your tradition. If we are to take Daily Guide headlines, somebody will say nothing good ever happened at NDC. The real situation is that, and I say we're intellectuals because there is a certain logic. In 2017, the Ministry of Energy and the government accused the NDC of creating excess capacity of power. How do you create excess capacity? On one hand, accuse the NDC of creating excess capacity, and the other hand saying there was load shedding. And that was why I began by defining load shedding. Load shedding arises out of inadequate generating capacity. And because you have inadequate generating capacity, you ration power. That is load shedding. So another government comes to power, accuses you in early 2017 that you created excess capacity, and that has become a burden on the national purse. You generated, or you created a generation of too much power. So that has become a burden on the national purse. And the same party turns around to say you did not have enough generating capacity. That is a contradiction.
No, but we're talking about two different things, Senior. You can have excess capacity, but if you don't have the financial wherewithal, you wouldn't be able to convert them into energy for consumption.
Listen.
They are different.
Listen. Remember, under President Mahama, we had domestic gas coming on stream. Under President Mahama, we had the infrastructure for ENI to come on stream in 2017. We had the fuel. To the extent that we had increased our export of power and also made provision. Gridco had established the 330 because that was our major trust. Remember, from 2009, when the NDC won, one of our focus was to make Ghana a major power exporting country. We are already a net exporter, but we said a major exporting country. And therefore, the governments of Atta Mills and Mahama, that 8-year period, we were very instrumental in the West African power pool arrangement. You see, one of the things we have not done and done well is that we've not taken sufficient advantage of our geography.
Please, if you indulge me, you asked me a question.
Yes.
Just 1 second about. You said I quote a headline. In the body of that article was an interview he granted to Kwame Sefakan, Chairman General.
Who granted?
Fusu Ampofo.
Okay.
So he told host Kwame Sefakan on P7's Kokroko that, quote, in our energy sector policy, it was expected that by the end of, into bracket, if we had won power, the 4-year period, Ghana would have been completely self-sufficient in energy, that we would have even become a net exporter of energy to other neighboring countries.
Yes.
No, he said.
So
No,
he
he
didn't
said.
say that they would have solved Doomsaw if he had won.
Oh,
You see,
Randy, you
again,
didn't hear me.
No, Prof, please read what you read the quote again.
Let me read
Okay,
it.
please do. Okay.
He said, in our energy sector policy, it was expected that by the end of, if we had won power, the 4-year period, Ghana would have been completely self-sufficient in energy, that we could have even become a net exporter of energy to other neighboring countries. I can say that to all intents and purposes, before the government, Mahama government left, as for generation capacity, we could generate enough to meet the demands of the country. As at the time that we were leaving office, we were not experiencing Doomsaw. Under NDC, we did a lot of investment in that generation. So they themselves realized that Doomsaw was not fixed under their regime. That was why Mahama said.
But that's not what you read. Though.
That's not what you read.
What you read is
That's not what you read.
It's exactly opposite what you are saying.
How?
Because what you are relying on, what you just read, the man said they fixed Doomsaw.
No, Mr. Fusampafo noted that Doomsaw was expected to come to an end by the second term of the Mahama government.
No, you read
That's
the,
it.
you
No,
read the
no.
direct quotes.
No, but
No, please.
wait, no.
You read the direct quotes.
Yes,
If you
yes,
can
no,
read
no.
it
You
again.
know,
Yeah.
when you are doing interviews, they are in phases. So he said, according to him, the previous government made several interventions to improve the energy sector before exiting office. And he has said that. Mr. Fusu Ampafo noted that Doomsaw into bracket was expected to come to an end by the second term of the Mahama government.
Yeah, but this is not a direct quote.
Yes.
You read what he actually said, the quote.
No,
what he said.
What he said
Yes.
was that in a 4-year time frame, they would have been able to have sufficiency in terms of the energy generation.
No.
No,
That's
really,
not
that
what
was
you- that's not what you read to us.
No, what I read to you, the second leg was that in that time frame,
Yes.
the next 4 years, they have plans to ensure sufficiency in power generation, like he said. But before that, he had admitted that they couldn't resolve the matter. That was why Mahama himself said that if he had won power again, he would have been able to
Look,
deal with the Nusra issue.
what you read attributable directly to him in quotes does not convey the latter position. But let's even pull it down. With all due respect to Ofosu Ampofo, he's not an energy person. With all due respect.
But I didn't even say anything.
Yes.
Anything wrong.
And I'm even
Oh,
just
really?
saying.
Okay, so that- okay,
No, I'm saying that the direct quotes, what
You
you
see-
read, the direct quotes attributable
But
to
the
him.
initial one,
You
They
see,
didn't- that- it wasn't a quote.
it
But-
wasn't a
but-
quote.
but
it's
it
a
was
reporter.
emphatic.
No, it wasn't a quote. That's the reporter saying it. You see, that's why I asked for. That's why you yourself, you decided to go for the relevant quotes, which is what the man said, and you read it twice. You read it twice.
No, but you know that in articles, it's not all that reporters use direct quotations. It's not all.
No, but I'm saying that
No.
if we have the man's direct quotation,
That is
why
what-
do we want to rely on something else in the same story?
Oh, but if that is relevant, don't we talk about that?
You see,
Because I want to talk about that.
You see, again, for somebody to say Ghana will become a net exporter, it is neither here nor there. Ghana has been a net exporter of power since the late 70s.
So you disagree with him?
Listen. That's why I'm saying that with due respect, he's not an energy person. Okay. Between myself and my brother, my junior brother, Ofosu Ampofo, he would defer to me when it comes to energy. Ghana has been a net exporter of power since the 1970s, when we started exporting to Togo, Benin. So that is why that is not our thrust. Our thrust is to become a major exporter of power. That is the nuance. And I was saying that we have not taken advantage of our geography economically. Do you know that Ghana is the nearest landmass to the center of the world? We have longitude 0 degree and latitude 0 degree intersected in our territorial waters. So we are the nearest landmass to the geographical center of the world. Put that aside. And that is why, in terms of trade, we are near enough to Europe, we are near enough to the Far East and other places. That is. But in West Africa, we sit right in the middle of the West African sub-region. And that is where the West African power pool arrangement, Ghana was very key in that during the governments of Professor Tamils and John Dramani Mahama. Because we are in a better position to export power to the east, to the west, and to the north. And that is why I say we still have not taken sufficient advantage. And again, this is the confusion my colleagues in the MPP, or not say my colleagues in the MPP, that the MPP government had, because I want to differentiate all the colleagues from the government. Yeah. The confusion they had was that under the NDC, under John Dramani Mahama, the intention was to increase our export to the neighborhood. How do you increase your export of power if you don't generate it in the first instance? Therefore, we needed the generation. This is the so-called SS. We needed the generation. We needed the transmission infrastructure to be improved in order to evacuate, particularly to Côte d'Ivoire, Mali, and Niger. So we had that. So we needed the generation to do that. Additionally, Additionally, there is something that we have not addressed as a people. Apart from the reserve capacity, which every power system has, because once you have adequate reserve capacity, that the Energy Commission here has indicated to be 18%. In some jurisdictions, your reserve capacity must be equal to your largest single generating source, which in our case will be Akosombo, 1,000 plus, 1,020 megawatts in our case. But in our jurisdiction, the Energy Commission has determined that our reserve margin should be 18%. So you need that 18% available at all times, so that when one plant goes down, yeah. So apart from that reserve capacity, you also need what we call a development reserve. It takes an average of 3 years to bring, after FID, final investment decision. After final investment decision, you need an average of 3 years to bring online a thermal power plant. I stated earlier that demand grows between 8 and 12% every year. And therefore, it means you're going to need 3 years to match new demand. So beyond the reserve capacity, you must have another capacity that I call development capacity to take care of the 3-year cycle. So if you add that to your reserve margin, you have another margin. Then again, we have our presidents. His Excellency Nana Akufo-Addo has done that. President Mahama has done that. All our presidents. We go around touting for investments. Assuming a steel plant is set up in Ghana, or an investor says, look, I want to come and set up a steel plant in Ghana. Are we going to say, wait 3 years for us to have adequate power before you come? No. If the investment decision is made to come to Ghana, the power must immediately be available.
Sure.
And so you also have to plan with that. So we have the reserve margin, which we call redundancy, in other, the other terminology for that is redundancy, adequate redundancy. You need a development reserve because demand is growing by 8 to 12% per annum. And so when we do that, a new government comes and says you have created excess capacity. The challenge we have not addressed as a people is that the reserve margin has to be paid for. How do we pay for it? The development margin has to be paid for. How do we pay for it? Those are the issues. So rather than addressing those issues as a people, because we need this, you need the development margin, you need the reserve margin. How do we pay for it? But when you play political ping pong with it, you come and it's so convenient to shift that to the other people. Really, you will meet reality.
So I get the point that he's making, and I think it's reasonable. So reserve margins, development margin, you need them. That is for the 3-year period he's talking about. We also need investment to create jobs, to improve upon our economy, to make the living conditions of the citizens better. In so doing, you are also likely going to incur some debt along the way. Okay? Because the development margins he is talking about, they are done in anticipation. So I'm sure that is what you refer to as the excess capacity. Okay, so Randy, then it becomes very difficult. So if we play politics, that you are borrowing so much, you're spending so much, our debt to GDP ratio is going up. Part is due to the explanation he has given. So that is where the politics will also come in. But I agree that we need to take risk if we want to develop this country in terms of strategic decisions. Randy, developed countries, you go check. Some of them, their debt to GDP ratio is even about 10%. because they need that. They need that to be able to make the economies, better. But if we are talking about, oh, you borrow so much, debt to GDP ratio is skyrocketing, without also bringing in the issue of capacity that he is talking about, development reserve, that we are not, that is part of our debt portfolio, then that is politics. But I'm thinking that
But
we need
the
to...
only thing is that anytime we speak about countries that debt to GDP is 200 and 300, and I'm sure you're referring to countries like Japan and others. The flip
They
side,
owe internally.
yes,
When
the
but
flip side of the
Internal
coin is that for those economies, how much do they spend on debt servicing?
Then we
So
must
you
also
see
look-
that the debt servicing ratio is something that is negligible.
Randy,
And that is how
I
come, although their debt to GDP is 300, they are still borrowing at 1% and 0 point something percent.
Randy.
And a country whose debt to GDP is 70 or 65 is growing at 13%.
But Randy, so the point is that these developed countries didn't get there overnight. It took years, it took centuries. But we are about 6 to 7 years, and we want to be like them overnight. The conditions and the context are different. So when we are making some of these intellectual, discussions, we need to situate all these within some of these contextual frameworks. For what he's saying, makes sense. But you see, but it will also bring some burden on the economy
It boils down to our dishonesty.
because we have to.
And we think that for political expediency.
So
Is that the dishonesty in politics?
before this program started, we were having
Yes.
on the side discussion about how we should not allow extreme partisanship to lead us in our political and societal discussions. We need to come to the middle and be more patriotic, thinking about how together, which doesn't matter the kind of political party, but how can we, at a point, converge and say that this is the path we are going? As for the two political parties, the fact is that if change will come, no matter how best you perform, it can happen. But the commonality should be that we shouldn't be fixated on negatives. However, how together we can confront our challenges meaningfully in order to make sustainable progress.
Doc, I want us to move on. I want us to move on. Okay. And still on the sector. Now, in terms of our indebtedness, where we ended up, the issue of the indebtedness in the energy sector has been one humongous issue. Now, even with this, our DDEP and everything, it looks like we are yet to sort out the issues of the debt in that sector. The current finance minister told us that they've reached some agreement with some of the IPPs. We're told that the indebtedness in that area is close to $3 billion or so. Now, their chamber came out to say that we are not aware of this. They say, well, we are dealing with some companies. And we keep hearing of threats, and we keep asking about when this thing is really going to collapse on our heads and all that. Yesterday, we got a press statement from Sanon Asogli, and they say that Sanon Asogli Power Ghana Limited regret that they have been compelled to suspend operations since Tuesday, the 8th of October 2024. The shutdown happened at 5 p.m. that day. This difficult decision was necessitated by our inability to fund our operations. And please note this, it took the company 8 days after shutdown to inform the public. So they actually waited for 8 days before they informed us. So this difficult decision was necessitated by inability to fund our operations because of the failure of the Electricity Company of Ghana to honor the overdue payment obligations and their various promises to that effect. Sanon Asogli Power Ghana has over the years been very considerate in its dealings with ECG and the government, and unlike other independent power producers, has not even invoiced ECG for accrued idle capacity charges. Despite this, ECG owes Sanon Asogli a net, excluding fuel, receivable amount of $259 million. As at the end of September 2024, our debt has grown by 23% on a net balance. Between January 2024 and September 2024, and only 22.6% of the invoices for the period has been paid by ECG from the cash waterfall mechanism, which means less than a quarter of the invoices. We deeply regret the impact of this decision on the national power supply. We expect the Ministry of Finance to intervene for us to return to operations as soon as possible. Now, I link this to the PURC's document to the ministry. This whole issue about the cash waterfall mechanism and how many of these producers are not receiving what they should receive. And this is minus what they actually owed.
You see, let me state this. The cash waterfall mechanism is like a basket. The size of the basket depends on what you put in. People not in the sector who happen to be government communicators and others have misled the Ghanaian people on the cash water mechanism. The cash water mechanism will not solve any problem to do with revenue accumulation or revenue generation. What it does is to more fairly and more transparently distribute what is collected. So efficient distribution of what is collected, equitable distribution of what is collected, does not resolve the underlying factor of inadequate revenue. It is important that we appreciate that. Essentially, the power sector is under recovering cost. Essentially, we must know that. And the monetary and fiscal mismanagement, or let me rephrase, the poor management of the monetary and fiscal policy of this nation exacerbates the challenge of the power sector. 2023 audited accounts, ECG made a loss of 10.2, slightly over 10.2 billion cedis. Loss. They did same in 2022. Slightly above 10 billion in 2022. In 2023, it increased slightly from the 2022 figure. Out of the 10.2 billion CD loss made by ECG in 2023, exchange losses alone accounted for over 8 billion cedis. Exchange losses. How do exchange losses come about? They come about because of the depreciation of the cedi. So yes, we can put the whole 10.2 on the heads of ECG. But out of the 10.2, 80%, slightly above 80%, arose out of poor fundamentals of the exchange regime. Arose because we had failed in our monetary policy. Arose because the fiscal disequilibrium impacted negatively. And ECG is at the receiving end because ECG is the contracting party to power purchase agreements. Power purchase agreements are denominated in USD, in dollars. 95% of ECG's receivables are denominated in cedis. So when arising out of poor monetary policy, arising out of weak fiscal policy, the cedi depreciates to the extent it has depreciated. ECG takes the bulk of the impact. I am not saying there's no room for efficiency in ECG. We recognized the weaknesses of ECG, especially in what we call the last mile.
Which is what?
Which is billing, which is collection, which is fault repairs. It was for this reason that the NDC government opted to use the compact to fix the distribution side of the power sector. It was for this reason that we opted for the concession arrangement. Indeed, I was minister, I went to cabinet. We had two options at the time with the compact. We either had to do the concession agreement or do privatization, outright privatization, sell part of the shares, the equity of cabinet with the memo, and opted for the concession agreement. Fortunately, cabinet and His Excellency the President agreed with the position of the ministry that the Ghanaian state should still own the assets, but the management, the commercial management, should be given out in concession. The configuration was that we're going to get about around $500 million from the compact as grant, not loan. But the investor coming in, the one coming to manage the concession, should also bring the equivalent of our 500 million, inject that into the distribution sector. So overall, we're going to have a minimum of $1 billion injected in the distribution sector. That will replace obsolete transformers, obsolete lines, proper metering. For example, very few Ghanaians know that a meter is supposed to be calibrated minimum every 5 years. There are people who have used meters for 15 years, the same. And when a meter goes beyond its period of calibration, it tends to underread. In fact, some even read negative. And so when they bring a new meter, it's replaced with a new meter. Say, hey, these new meters, they run like Usain Bolt. It's because the old one, the 10-year, 15-year, 20-year-old, was under reading. So we're supposed to do all this. And the configuration was that at least 20% equity in that concession company, the entity that will run the concession, should be in Ghanaian hands because we believe in local content and local participation. We had gone very far. Then the people of Ghana decided to give us the boot in 2016. A new government comes without talking to some of us. For some, whatever reason, they decided that the configuration that brought in was to bring in the big boys with deep packers was not good enough. So they changed the configuration that Ghanaian entities must have 51%, minimum 51% equity, and then the foreigners 49%. What that means in management, in corporate governance, is that the foreign company bringing its reputation and bringing the $500 million on board will lose boardroom control. And therefore the big boys withdrew. And that was how the PDS arrangement came in, and they had to water down the conditions. There was no way a Ghanaian company could bring in $500 million because ECG, the distribution sector, also needs capital injection. And that led to all this PDS debacle. So we had to recognize that there was a weakness in the distribution sector. And ECG is the bigger of the two distribution companies. NEDCO accounts for about 64%, about 56% of the land mass of Ghana is covered by NEDCO. But they only carry 10% of the revenue. Tema alone is bigger than, uses more power than the whole of the NEDCO region. So the concentration is on ECG, even though they only account for about 46% of the land mass. That was the concentration. That we have not done because we messed up with the concession agreement.
But it appears that when you listen to the experts and those who play in that field, and I have been speaking with ASEP's Ben Boachi on this issue for 3-4 years now. Incidentally, he's around somewhere here. I'll speak with him on this issue as well. there are also concerns about how ECG manages.
Yeah, that is the other
money.
end. That is the other end.
Yes.
You see, ECG, and as the chairman of the Parliamentary Committee on Public Administration and State Interest, I stated this at Kwawu. The way we appoint our boards, the way we appoint chief executives, we have no respect for competence as a people. We have no respect for competence. People are put on boards because of party loyalty. Look, let me give you the example in Namibia. In Namibia, before you become a director on any state institution, you write an exam and pass a competence exam. Yes. So there is a list, a pool. There's a pool of Namibians who have written and passed the exam that governments can then pick from. Look.
You want it replicated here?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Let me tell you. Look, let me tell you, it's part of the challenge we face. And I stated it before His Excellency the President.
Yeah.
And to be fair to His Excellency the President, when I finished, he got up, he shook my hands. Some bitter truths must be told.
Yeah.
The way we
You
are.
mean President Akufo-Addo?
Akufo-Addo, yes.
He shook your hands.
Yes, in Kwawu.
And he's implemented it.
Well, this was about a month ago.
Okay.
So let's see.
Okay.
We choose wrong people to manage state enterprises. The boards are worse, and especially those that are companies. Even in Apetishi, selling Apetishi, alcoholic drinks, for 7 years, Gihok distilleries have made losses every year. Casapreco is improving their
Gihok
exporting.
Distilleries?
Yes, 7 years, right?
That's where Maxwell Kofi Juma is the CEO.
Well, I'm talking of the company.
No, but that's
yes,
he's 74.
yes, yes.
Yes. He's 74 years
Yes.
So,
old. He's CEO, not
Yes.
board chairman.
Yes.
CEO.
I'm just giving an example. Let me.
Yes.
Since 2017, Temoy Refinery has
And you
never,
say the company has made losses from when?
7 years running.
Every year.
Every year.
Big company.
Gihok Distilleries. Since 2017, Temoy Refinery has never been audited. They have no audited accounts.
Huh?
I'm telling you issues. We have major issues with our corporate governance.
They've never been audited.
Yes, for 7 years.
Why?
Since 2017, let me give, they have never been audited.
Why?
I've raised that issue. I raised it before His Excellency the President.
Is there a shortage of auditors?
Well, it's just our approach to corporate governance. Even regulatory bodies, who should be the first to comply so that they can exact compliance from the people they regulate. A number of them have not been audited. And when they are audited so late. The Public Financial Management Act has a cut-off period. By the end of June, those that are authorities are this. Those that are companies, under Act 992, Section 126, 128, by the end of quarter one, which is the end of March, the audited account should be ready. Hardly do we do that. So our approach to corporate governance, we, as a people, the political patronage takes precedence over competency, takes prominence over proper corporate governance. So until we fix that corporate governance problem, our state-owned enterprise, and ECG, I'm saying this because of ECG, the way we appoint board members, the way we do things, the absence of control of the board of ECG, we tend to appoint chief executives who report directly to either Flagstaff House or Jubilee House, and therefore sidestep proper corporate governance. So there are serious managerial weaknesses of ECG. And it's not only ECG. Let me tell you, within the past week, we met Gridco. Gridco made profit this year for 2023. But if you look at Gridco's receivables of over 4 billion cedis, about 50% of their receivables are impaired beyond 90 days to 5 years.
Whoa.
They are impaired. They are receivables. So on the books, you've made profit, but they are in a terrible cash flow situation. So ECG, yes, has its own internal management issues, has internal control issues. And one of the most annoying things I found about ECG when I was Minister for Power, I visited their Kumasi office. And in their Kumasi office, they then had ECG Region A and ECG Region B in Ashanti. They had built 2 warehouses on the same plot of land. One for Region A, one for Region B. And I asked whether one warehouse, and they said, oh, for all the 2 regions cannot even fully utilize one warehouse, but they built 2. No, that is not even the most annoying. They also built 2 filling stations on the same compound. One for Region A, one for Region B. When their fleet is minuscule in terms of the capacity of a filling. So there are managerial issues that we must address as a people.
But the bigger issue of the debt, how do we deal with it? Because you see, this is Asogli. And like I made a point, Asogli says they went off Tuesday, 5 p.m., 8th. They waited 8 days. I'm sure that they gave that period, expecting that the Ministry of Finance would do something. So it took them 8 days to communicate to us. I mean, what about the rest? Look, so now we are 560 off.
Yes. Yes. And Asogli is the biggest of the IPPs. My biggest fear is even the contagion effect. If other IPPs follow suit, and Asogli has one of the liberal terms, if other IPPs follow suit, we are going to be in serious problem.
That unlike other independent power producers, they've not invoiced ECG for accrued idle capacity charges.
Yes. So that is the challenge, is that we must find money to pay them or come to some arrangement that we will honor. When the Minister of Finance said 4 months ago he was restructuring, I challenged him at that time. You see, intention or intent is not sufficient. It's not contractual. You've not signed off anything. You see, propaganda will only take you so far. And that is why for some of us, we intend to do this, we intend to do it. It's no longer enough. What have you done?
All right. Yes, Doc. Yes.
So, first, the issue regarding GIHOC, I think the committee he serves on, they deal with state enterprises. So it's difficult for me to doubt him on some of the things he says. But there's this Ghanaian Times publication, September 6, 2021, about GIHOC, that says plans to list GIHOC on Ghana Stock Exchange under consideration as it makes 180 million profit. 180 million cedis Ghana, 180 million Ghana cedis profit. So the Minister of Public Enterprises, Mr. Joseph Kujo, has lauded the Ghana Industrial Holding Corporation for making the company profitable again. So I'm just giving information from Ghanaian Times, which is a credible newspaper in the country, that
no, they only publish what the minister said.
It's
not like I know.
You see, Chief, on this, yes. I can call the minister online.
Yes.
If he can confirm this. I have the audited financials.
Yes.
So you see, propaganda is propaganda. I stated this in front of His Excellency the President.
You've made your point on GIHOC, so
no. Just excuse me, my brother. I stated this in front of the President. The Chief Executive of GIHOC was there in that meeting, and that is my only worry.
No problem.
No, I mean,
the
we can,
truth of the
because-
matter is
yeah.
that 2024 is about ending. They have not listed on the stock exchange. It should say. It
But-
should tell us a lot. Yeah.
I mean, based on the evidence, so
Yeah.
when it does, so
Right.
and also about appointments to of board members, you know, the various acts,
And CEOs.
the various acts normally will indicate qualifications, how the president should appoint board members. And what I've seen,
Really? Qualifications?
oh yeah, because
Or
I
maybe
mean,
institutional representation is what you mean?
no, I mean in selecting board members,
Yes.
there are certain categories.
Okay.
And that, for example, nowadays, I represent the ministry in dealing with some of our bills. And it is captured that recourse should be given to academic qualifications and expertise. When the president is, for example, choosing,
But they don't state like a minimum requirement or anything.
recourse should be given to that. I mean, maybe the
Broadly stated.
Yeah, maybe the LI can operationalize some of these provisions in the law. So it is left to the appointing authority to consider the expertise and the qualifications of persons they send there, and those from institutions must also do same. When we do that, then we are likely going to get persons who are competent to be on our boards to ensure efficiency and effectiveness in their operations in these institutions. We admit that our state institutions go through problems, and UCG, over the years, we've been talking about their operations and how they need to improve. I remember when on the board of, on the committee of, when I was a member of the Poverty Reduction Strategy Committee board as deputy ranking, we invited PURC. And when they came, I was surprised when they said that they always make provision for transition losses. I think between 10 and 15% or so. It was huge.
No, currently is 4.1 for Gridco. Okay. And to be fair to Gridco, in 2023, their transmission losses were slightly less than the
like
4.1. So I had even told them that, look, I will ask Gridco, the PURC, to further bring them to about 3.8.
So at the meeting,
yeah,
at the meeting, I'm talking about 2022 or 2021, and I remember I said that number was unacceptable, and that we cannot anticipate that huge losses. We need to make sure that, it comes down. That to be reasonable. On the issue of Sonon Asogri, I remember December last year they faced similar challenge. They shut down, their plants, some of them, but the Ministry of Finance came in to intervene. So I'm hoping that, I've read that some persons are suggesting that doing so is looming. I don't think doing so is going to happen. The Ministry of Finance should be able to find monies to, for the IPP, so that they continue with the services that they are providing for us. On a more serious note, we need to take a look at how some of these our strategic institutions are managed. We need to, because over the years we've been talking about ECG, we've been talking about Ghana Water Company. What is wrong there? What are we not doing differently? That we have these perennial issues of losses. And when I also read the Auditor General's report, apart from the exchange losses, there are also debts owed by some institutions. Certain institutions are not paying. So if certain institutions are not paying, then it can also affect their effectiveness. Okay, these are broader issues that all of us must look at. You go to some offices, state-owned institutions, and you realize that ACs are turned on. So what is the policy in these institutions or organizations to ensure that when you leave your office, when you're going home, or you turn them off in our own homes when we are living to our works? What do? We turn these things off, but in our offices we leave them on. with the mindset that, oh, government is going to pay. And this indebtedness to ECG is also contributing to their incapacity in providing us useful services, okay, coupled with their own internal issues. So those who are supposed to man this sector, the board, should be more proactive. Okay, the ministry should do their best to ensure that, we are electricity self-sufficient. Okay, otherwise, Randy, 2 weeks ago, in the news, I saw that in Nigeria produces a lot of oil. I saw queues. I saw erratic power supply doing so over there. What is happening in African countries? What is worrying us? That a major player like Nigeria, one of the leading producers of oil, their citizens queue to buy fuel products. Long queues, Randy. I don't get it. And the culture, you put somebody to head an agency. The person is there for 8 years, is there for 10 years, 15 years, and no meaningful productivity. The company is in a state of inertia. The person is still there. It is wrong, because we need to be giving some deliverables, some benchmarks, targets that if you're not able to do A, B, C, D, then you're out. If you're able to introduce this in our system, and it will help all of us. You are appointed to deliver a particular service. You are appointed to ensure that there's growth at where you are. If at the end of the day, we are not achieving that growth, questions must be asked. If the fault is yours, then you are shown the door. If you have justifiable reasons to explain why those issues have not been dealt with, then that is different. Okay, we must move forward. But I want to assure Ghanaians that, and I know the Minister for Finance, Dr. Amin Anta, has acquitted himself so well in office, and I'm hoping that he will intervene to ensure that Sonin Asogri is provided the money that they are seeking, 259 million, so that they can also continue to provide the services that they are supposed to deliver. And I'm sure that when that one is done, it will benefit all of us. So there shouldn't be any cause for alarm. More has to be done. And he, being a former minister in charge of power, I'm sure he understands the issues. So those issues, because some of the issues can be dealt with frontally, can be dealt with. There are some people, citizens, you go to their houses, they consume energy without paying. How do we identify these persons? What is UCD doing to ensure that these persons are found out and dealt with? People consume power without paying, and that is wrong. We must assume some form of patriotism in Ghanaians.
Okay, all right. Gentlemen, we need to go.
Yes, but you see, the biggest problem facing the power sector today is the exchange rate regime.
The exchange rate regime. Okay.
The example.
I'm told sometimes the ECG buys about $40 million a month.
That is for fuel. That is
Not to pay.
That is
to pay.
No, they need. You see, the agreement PURC and the stakeholders reached was that ECG should pay 43 million a month dollars to the IPPs, but that is not the invoice price. The invoice price is above the 43, and that the balance should be rolled forward into the future. That was the agreement they reached in the last challenge. And that means ECG should be collecting minimum 2 billion cedis a month. ECG is collecting about 800 million.
Instead of 2 billion.
Yes.
But the Haptel, I thought they said the Haptel is bringing all the money.
That is, you see, that is another issue, but probably won't go there. But so there is a fundamental. There is the micro and there's the macro. The micro is internal to ECG, managerial practices, procurement, and too many decisions in Ghana in the public sector are procurement-led, not business-led. We don't make a business case and say, oh, when we do this, there is this on this. So too many decisions are procurement-led, like the Haptel. So, but there is also the macro. The exchange rate regime is beyond ECG. And if 80% of their loss in 2023 arises out of exchange losses, then the managers of the national economy have done us a disservice by creating this debilitating exchange rate regime. And the vice president, then candidate Bawumia, said, when the fundamentals are weak, the exchange rate would.
You know, at the beginning, I said that we need to be, you know what I mean, we need to also contextualize our debates and our argument. The global economic environment is not conducive to almost every country in the world, and we are unlikely that we are developing economy. We depend largely on export. So the government attempted to resolve this matter by introducing policies before COVID-19 came into distract our focus.
With all respect, Cote d'Ivoire is our next door neighbor. Look at their progress. Indeed, Ghanaian companies in the energy sector are moving to Cote d'Ivoire. Let me give you a good example.
The Francophone countries, they've always had lower. Go and check Togo. Go and check Benin and La Cote d'Ivoire.
No, let me give you.
The exchange rates, inflation, they are always low. They're always low.
Example.
They're always low.
A Ghanaian company, is building a 400 megawatt plant in Cote d'Ivoire because of the politically hostile environment.
Where?
Gensa Energy. I'm giving you, yes, Gensa.
Where is the hostility coming from?
I'm just giving.
Hostile environment?
Yes.
Politically hostile environment?
Yeah, in the energy sector. I'm just giving you an example. I don't speak without facts. Gensa is building a 400 megawatt energy plant in Cote d'Ivoire.
But they are business people. So what's wrong about that?
The same Gensa that is doing the pipeline.
Yes.
But how
the business?
They are
already a power company in Ghana. They supply the mines. They're already a power company.
Yes.
The pipeline is additional.
Yes.
They are building, and originally they wanted to build this plant in Ghana. They are an exporter of
environment is not hostile, senior. It's not hostile.
They are an export company.
Friendly.
They already export to Cote d'Ivoire. They export power. They will have built this plant in Ghana. But for the hostility they face,
they are
just ask anybody in the sector.
So we'll take
the
a break.
environment is conducive.
I have this
it's business friendly.
interview with Mr. Bembuachi of ASEP, and then our conversation with the Minerals Commission. We'll be speaking about capacity building this morning. We'll be back shortly.
Do you know someone who's making a difference in your community? Someone whose selfless actions and dedication to helping others deserves recognition? Then it's time to celebrate these incredible individuals on MTN Heroes of Change.
It's time to nominate those selfless individuals to win 100,000 Ghana cedis and other cash prizes and be crowned MTN Hero of Change. You can also nominate a blogger or someone in the digital space and any of the media houses to win our new category of Digital Hero and Media Hero of Change. Just fill an online nomination form at mtn.com.gh or send a WhatsApp with a 1-minute video of your nominee's project on 055-141-1122. Deadline for nominations is 18th October 2024, so don't waste time. Nominate your hero now.
MTN Heroes of Change. Be the change you wish to see.
Experience the enhanced protection of Star Motor Third Party Extra from Star Assurance, an enhanced motor third party insurance policy that provides cover for loss or damage to your vehicle's windscreens, side mirrors, back glass, and other glass components. Whether it's a crack or major damage, you can drive with the assurance that your vehicle is well protected. Our commitment to you includes affordable coverage options and a claims process that is both fast and straightforward, so you spend less time dealing with paperwork and more time on the road. Also, we have proudly partnered with Hope for Little Lives, an organization dedicated to supporting children in need. By choosing Star Motor Third Party Extra, you're protecting your vehicle and making a positive impact. Every policy you buy helps bring joy and support to children in underserved communities. Reach out to us now on our toll-free numbers 0800-177-177 or 0302-245-906 to sign up. Let us help you drive with peace of mind and purpose. Star Motor Third Party Extra. Drive with confidence, give back with heart.
Star Assurance, your solid partner.
To all our believers,
to the Niger Gunners of Globe Road,
all you Artetas of Africa,
of Accra, of Maputo,
of Oimbo,
the legends of legends down Lusaka way. We hear you.
Now hear us. Obrigado. Galo.
Betway, the official global betting partner of Arsenal.
Over 5 million children have benefited from free SHS. Protect free SHS. Vote Dr. Baumia #1 on the ballot.
Using Koa Mixture, Koa Plus Mixture, and Koa MT Mixture, brought to you by Koa Research and Manufacturing Limited Company, proudly made in Ghana. Formulated to support your general well-being. For those seeking immune system support, there is Koa Plus Mixture. Support your body's defenses and stay strong. When it comes to combating malaria, Koa MT Mixture will aid your treatments. For effective relief from malaria symptoms, try Koa MT Mixture. Koa Mixture, Koa Plus Mixture, and Koa MT Mixture are not recommended for pregnant women, lactating mothers, and children under 12 years. Always take a malaria test before using Koa MT Mixture. Choose Koa Mixture, Koa Plus Mixture, and Koa MT Mixture for your health needs. Available now at pharmacies nationwide. For bulk purchases, contact 0244-726611 or 0591-565-778. This advert is
Anti-cavity, gum protection, brighter teeth, and fresh breath.
I'm a fair missy way.
The patch of Bantama.
Machasi.
A smile, a fresh breath.
Me, Gidi said we use Cal 360 toothpaste. Some kind.
Cal 360 toothpaste.
Guys, here, Cal 360 toothpaste. It's a gum protector.
Onim jom kasa.
Kile hosing. Cal 360 did the way. It's cool mint. Gives me fresh breath and your confidence booster.
You will see so feeling ye. Cal 360 toothpaste.
Happy.
Cal 360 toothpaste, anti-cavity, gum protection, brighter teeth, and fresh breath. Cal, happy smile. This advert is FDA approved.
Now let me tell you why you should choose Safari Valley
as your conference destination.
The new conference building combines modern amenities with the tranquility of nature, providing the perfect backdrop for your next seminar and corporate retreat.
The only conference destination with so many activities. You don't have to travel to visit your tennis club, the gym, or the stables. They have it all.
Enjoy this rooftop viewing deck, basking in the sunlight with the sight of wild animals roaming freely in their natural habitat.
At my break, I'm able to practice my putting.
It's a unique experience that sparks creativity and rejuvenates the mind.
Visit Safari Valley Eco Resort in Ghana, bringing you closer to nature.
Hey, what's up?
How far with your internship?
To be honest, I'm so nervous about starting this new role on Monday.
Oh, please. I know you'll be great at it. You should be worried about what benefits they have. Example, do they have health insurance?
I doubt they will have that for internet. But no shaking. I have NHIS already.
After you son a line, ting.
Ina, look at you. What are you going to do in the office when you can just download the app to register for an NHIS membership?
Yes, my people. You heard right. You can now download and register your membership on my NHIS app. No long queues or tedious paperwork. All you need is your Ghana card to register for yourself and for others. Once you register, you get a new digital NHIS card on your phone. My NHIS app gives you access to credentialed health facilities and services across the country. NHIS covers over 95% of disease conditions in Ghana. Access to healthcare just got easier.
Now let me sign up quickly. Please, Seth, I'm starting work next month.
Hello, my name is Roland Walker. I'm here at Star Park.
Right, welcome back to the show. If you just joined us, this is Good Morning Ghana live on Metro TV. And as a proud official global betting partner of Arsenal, Betway is bringing you way more with a new fan exclusive page. Place any bet on Arsenal and you stand a chance to win exciting monthly prizes from a range of Arsenal jerseys to memorabilia and more. Not only that, you stand a chance to win a once-in-a-lifetime Play on the pitch experience at Emirates Stadium. Competition will end on the 31st of January 2025. This is exclusive to Betway. Terms and conditions apply. It's regulated by the Gaming Commission of Ghana. Bet the responsible way. Betway, get way more. All right, okay. So I have with me on the show this morning Mr. Ben Boakye, who is the Executive Director of the African Center for Energy Policy, ACEP. We've always been speaking to him on Zoom. Today he's right here in the studio with us. Ben, good morning.
Good morning.
Right. How are you doing?
I'm well. Good to see you.
The Black Stars didn't make you happy?
Yes.
I saw you at the stadium.
Yes, I traveled
in Accra and then,
all the way from Lagos to the stadium.
Yes. Hope to make amends soon. All right. Anyway, but you and I have been speaking about the debt situation in the energy sector, and we keep talking about it. It keeps coming up. The country has done the DDEP. We still are not certain about what's going to happen in the energy sector. Then we've seen these threats of shutdown, reduction in supply and all that, leading to all manner of issues. And then we hear some payments have been made. There are issues with the cash waterfall. We saw recently what the PURC wrote to the Energy Ministry about ECG's finances and all that. Then yesterday we had this. Sana Sogli have informed us that, in fact, as far back as Tuesday, the 8th of October, they have shut down their 560 megawatts. And they say that, look, ECG is unable to honor the overdue payment obligations and various promises to that effect. And they are saying that they are owed, excluding fuel, 259 million, and that unlike other independent power producers, they've not even invoiced ECG for idle capacity charges. And they're saying that their debt has grown by 23% on the net balance. And between January and September this year, only 22.6% of their invoices, that's just for this year, have been honored.
Yeah, look, I think it's the problems we've been talking about, which is now crystallizing into some of these shutdowns and threats. And it's not only Sogli that has taken action. Car Power, I think last month, they drew down on their LCs. So now they don't even have guarantees because they finished the guarantees. Yes.
Really?
By $112 million has been drawn down. And when we speak about the power sector challenges, the hope is that some corrective actions will be taken to see the urgency to address the problems. But unfortunately, that has not been the case. So we see the problem compounding. And that really threats not just the power sector, but again, as we say all the time, the country's budget. Because when they write assembly writing, they're hoping that the Ministry of Finance will pick up the bill
that's what they're saying.
and pay, and not those who are supposed to collect revenue and pay the value chain. So we're sacrificing the budget, and that's why in our last statement we actually say that we're actually doing galamsey on the national budget. Because we are sacrificing infrastructure development, the education sector, agriculture sector, every sector that can benefit from these kinds of revenues to pay for electricity bills. When some people are paying, others are not. And then ECG doesn't care about how do they collect the revenues to be able to pay the value chain. And the bill always goes to Ministry of Finance for Ministry of Finance to pay.
But how can we have such a situation? And here, I'm not even looking at debts, previous debts. Let's even skip up to 2024, and let's just take 2024, that year. How do we have a situation where we say that we have a cash waterfall mechanism? We've brought in HAPTEL. We are talking about improvement in revenue collection. Yet, we are only able to honor less than 23% of invoices. How come?
The HAPTEL arrangement hasn't improved revenue. And I mean, I saw their last statement where they were making the same claims. Revenue tariff has been adjusted upwards. So once it's been adjusted upwards, you'll be able to account for that adjustment, or even at business as usual, for us to know how much really has increased in terms of collection. They keep talking about some $400 million CDs that ECG was collecting, and they have moved it to about 800 million. The data doesn't show that. Before HAPTEL came in, ECG collection was around 700 million CDs. So if it's gone up to 800 million CDs, we should even account for the adjustment, which is almost 80% of the adjustment. So it means that the adjustment hasn't even kicked in full. We're not collecting the adjustment that has been made on the tariff. So when somebody says they have increased revenue with a HAPTEL arrangement, the numbers don't support that. And that's what we keep saying, that we should ignore the speeches and the messages and look at the data that is actually generated and thrown at us for us to see whether we are making progress or not. You brought in a private company, which perhaps may be good if we can see actual improvement, and the strategy around it actually makes sense. And we kept questioning what HAPTEL actually will be doing. You brought in a company to develop an app and collect revenues. You are paying in full for the development of that app, and then the company that you don't owe, you are paid them in full, collects the revenue and put it into their account. The money is not going to ECG's account. The money goes into HAPTEL's account. They don't have any skin in the game because they haven't invested in ECG. They only develop an application for you. And then they collect all their revenue and put it in their account, and then they transfer a portion to ECG's account.
Why a portion?
Because in the agreement, ECG has signed an agreement with this private company to say that a portion of the money will go into innovation and any technological solution that ECG board members management will decide on, and then together with HAPTEL, then they will invest that fund that will be set aside. So even as we speak today, we don't know how much has accrued into that fund, and that fund receives money before the balance is transferred to ECG.
You're saying that when we buy power,
when you buy power, the money goes to HAPTEL's account,
not ECG's account.
HAPTEL hasn't invested a dime in the power sector. They haven't invested in a transformer. They haven't invested in a cable. They haven't invested in anything. But every money that you pay, every consumer pays, goes into HAPTEL's account before HAPTEL will transfer that money, a portion of that money, to ECG's account, and the balance undefined balance in the agreement goes into an account, a fund that has been set up between ECG management and HAPTEL for management of their contract and also anything innovation that they will decide on. So today we don't even know how much has gone into their account. The worst part is that for transferring the money that could have gone into ECG account, Haptel charges 0.85% of the gross revenue that will come for the transfer of the funds into ECG's account.
Are they not?
When you could have just.
Are they not bank charges? Are they not the banks that are charging those monies?
But why should that charge even occasion? Because ECG is the one that has made the investment. ECG is the one that is selling power. So if the money had gone into ECG's account, there wouldn't be any bank charges for transferring the money. Why should it go into Haptel's account? For you to attract 0.85% of transfer money. And then on top of that, you pay Haptel another 0.95% for their management of the whole system. For the management of the system. And then they also charge you 1% for other payments to the telcos and for Momo and the Visa transactions. So cumulatively, we do about 3% of additional cost that was hitherto not borne by the state or ECG, by just this single transaction. So that is how they actually managed to, if you like, deviate from the cash waterfall mechanism. I heard you talk about the cash waterfall mechanism, which was to transparently account for all the monies that were coming in, and then we know who is paid what in the value chain. So now you set up this scheme with Haptel, where the funds are controlled, and a portion then is transferred to the cash waterfall account for PRC and other players to see. But whatever remains before it is transferred to ECE's account, nobody knows.
Now, how come the cash waterfall mechanism isn't working?
I think there are two levels. I mean, the cash waterfall mechanism, our position was that it only manages what comes in.
Okay.
That's one thing. Okay. Managing to make sure that everybody at least gets something. But the bigger challenge was collecting enough revenue, making sure that the power that you have sold, you can actually account for that power, stop people from stealing power, and be able to collect enough revenue and pay everybody else. Because when you take a unit of power, it is broken down. There's a portion for transmission, there's a portion for generation, there's a portion for distribution. But what was happening before the cash waterfall was that ECG collects the revenue and decides to use it on itself, do their contracting that Honorable was talking about, building infrastructures that were not optimal. And therefore the decision was, okay, let's see how much is coming in. And then we apportion it based on the tariff that has been approved, so that everybody at least gets something, whilst you address the other inefficiencies with collection, theft and the rest of it, so that we can fix the energy sector problem. But that hasn't happened, because at one point ECG was even deciding not to comply with the cash waterfall mechanism. They at one point went to their own arrangement with the IPP to say they will pay them $43 million every month, and then roll over the remainder to a future date, which we don't even know. Who will pay at that future date? What is the arrangement to build a buffer to be able to pay at that future date? We don't know. So we are piling some debt. Beyond that, also the $43 million that they promised, they are not paying. And that's why Asogli and Co will be striking, because if they had been paying them some money, they would have been able to operate with that kind of payment. So the cash waterfall mechanism is not delivering as it should, because one, they are not collecting enough, and even what is collected now, some is being set aside for Haptel and ECG to manage outside the cash waterfall mechanism before some comes in for the transfer, and that is not enough. The gas payment is a big problem. Talo hasn't been paid. They don't get payment. But because they don't have guarantees, there's little they can say. Yes, there's little they can say. ENI has a more robust arrangement with Ghana, where Stanchart backstops it. Beyond Stanchart, they can go to the World Bank guarantees to go and take their money. So far they've drawn about 450 million out of the 500 outstanding.
But that's risky for us.
Guarantees. Yeah, so we owe Stanchart $450 million thereabout. We even missed our deadline last week. We defaulted about $57 million that we're supposed to refund to the LC. That we couldn't do. So if we are not able to raise money or sacrifice development to address some of these lingering problems in the power sector, it could escalate beyond what Asogli has actually done today. Because now, Car Power is still owed over $400 million. They've drawn down their guarantees in full. They don't have any guarantees. Yeah, so if they can't operate, they also shut down. So that's how dire the power sector is getting. And I think the earlier we address the fundamental problems of mismanagement, abuse of resources, and we're talking about exchange losses in the region of about 9 billion. And when you look at it, it's not just because PRC is not recovering that in the tariff. It's also because there's exchange rate manipulation, which we are pointed to.
How? Where
in some instances, ECG buys dollar significantly higher than the market rate. And they account to PRC of that, exchange rate. At one point, we pointed out to a rate they gave to PRC for under the cash water flow mechanism, which was 13.9, when the exchange rate at the time was about 11.5.
On the open market.
On the open market. From the Bank of Ghana data.
That rate was just indicative or something.
It couldn't have been indicative because you are reporting in December for September.
Okay.
So if you give me a report in December for September, how can that be indicative? 1 quarter after. It couldn't have been indicative. That was the real exchange rate they used. And nobody cares to even call the people responsible to order and let them account for the exchange rate. I mean, we have requested for all the exchange rate for the past 3 years. ECG cannot still provide the exchange rates for us to confirm the data that we have. We requested for it. They said it would take time for them to gather that data. But you have Excel sheet that populates all your transactions. You have audited accounts that would have accounted for all these things. So give us that data of how you exchange your CD to dollars. They can't provide that data because it will clearly show that they have been manipulating the number just to milk the system. In 1 month, if you buy dollar at 13.9, when it was 11.5, we're talking about 85 million CDs of exchange rate manipulation. And that's how the revenues are leaking. And we are not able to pay the power that is actually consumed.
But why is the central bank not taking charge of that?
That is even shocking.
Yeah, because
that the central bank will not be interested in this kind of manipulation.
Buy $43 million every month, and they collect CDs. 95% of revenue is in CDs. Absolutely. And we allow them to go to the open market to go and buy dollars. So when open market is 11 point something, and Bank of Ghana obviously will be about 10 point something, and ECG says it's buying at 13 point something. I mean, that's.
I mean, and PRC and even the cash waterfall mechanism had been insisting, the committee has been insisting that they need to have that arrangement with the central bank, so that they buy directly from the central bank instead of going to the open market to go and buy the dollar. But they prefer to go to the open market.
And it's done every month, on a monthly basis?
On a monthly basis, yeah. On a monthly basis.
Wow. How do we sort out this issue? As we round up, how do we just sort out this issue?
I think we just have to hold people accountable.
Well, it looks like it's been a firefighting thing.
Yeah.
They scream today, they find something for them, they come on board tomorrow, and we are not dealing with the issue because it keeps going from bad to worse. Last year, we were here speaking about this issue. This year, this is what ASOG is telling us, that for this year alone, they have been paid less than 23% of their invoices.
Yes, and the power has been generated.
And all the others, those who have guarantees have drawn down on them.
Yeah.
Those who don't have, we don't know what they're going to do.
So we need to fix ECG. We need to fix ECG. We need to give it out on the concession again, let the private sector take it and manage that and take this burden off government budget. Because we are sacrificing everything to keep the light on. We are sacrificing our development to keep the light on, to the point where now we can't even do it.
Did you have any information on how far we've gone with the debt restructuring with the IPPs? Because today the minister says that they reached an agreement. Tomorrow their chamber says there's no agreement. The next time we hear that the agreement is with some companies.
There is no visibility on what exactly government has done with other IPPs. But what I'm hearing is that some of the IPPs have agreed, as I indicated, to take a portion of the recurrent invoices and then push the balance to the future dates. So that's what I'm saying. So if, for example,
we're just transferring the
yeah. So if you're actually kicking the can down the lane. So if you're taking about 70% of your recurrent, entitlements now, then 30% is rolled down the lane, so that the bulk payment will be paid. Some 2027, some 2029. But there should be an arrangement. Where is that money going to come from at that point to be able to pay for those commitments?
Yeah, but we are not also blocking the leakage. Because you see, as we're trying to,
so if we had fixed ECG and they were able to collect and then keep current, if they were able to keep current, then of course you know that
because even if you were to ring fence up to December 2023,
absolutely,
that suddenly 2024 story tells you that you are really doing nothing.
We're not staying current, and then also we are piling some more debt. So,
wow. Anyway, Ben,
thank you.
Thanks for joining me, and I'm sure that we'll be speaking a lot more on these issues. I wish you the very best. remainder of the week. All right, okay. So up next, Minerals Commission, and the Minerals Commission want to speak to us about capacity building. They believe that is key to dealing with the issue of illegal mining menace and all that. So they'll be telling us what they've been doing in building capacity as they perform their functions as a regulator in that space. We'll be back shortly.
She's coming. She's coming.
Oh, it's in. Red Hour seatbelt! Boss, let's go back.
Here, take this.
She's coming.
I know. Go to the pharmacy now.
She's coming. Oh.
Pay faster, pay safer, and pay easy with Momo app. Download now and pay with the QR code, merchant ID, and so much more.
Over 5 million children have benefited from free SHS. Protect free SHS. Vote Dr. Baumia #1 on the ballot.
Chief, if the election is won at the polling station, why is the final result declared by the EC chairperson?
Very good question. Let me break it down for you. For the presidential election, the whole country is one constituency. We add up the results from all the polling stations